What's going on, everybody? I'm Brandon from Walker's Woodworks. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to show you guys how I made a planer bench. Hang on, let me slap some plywood up here real quick. Alright, so as I was saying, I'm making a planer bench. I wanted to try some exposed plywood style modern furniture, and I was actually selected to be on the build team for the Builders Challenge Season 9 on Instagram. A link for that will be in the description below for you guys to check out. Basically, the challenge was to make a bench with a planer or storage integrated into it, and this is what I came up with. Hang on a second. Full disclosure, I will not be putting this bench outside. It is not rated for outdoors. It will be an indoor bench, hence the plywood. If you did want to make one that was for outdoors, I would suggest using cedar or redwood or any other wood that would be suitable for outside use. With that said, I also will be offering plans for this build, and I will link those in the description below for you guys to check out. Okay, back to the build. I started by ripping most of the bigger pieces down with my track saw. These are mostly pieces for the box portion of the planers on each side. Once those were all cut, I started ripping down strips that would be the wraparound accents for the planer boxes. I got all my pieces cut, including the long strips that will make up the bench and the pieces that will make up the top trim for the planer boxes as well. The next step was to drill all the pocket holes in the pieces that would make up the box portion of the planers. Craig was kind enough to send me the Foreman, and after using the K4 for years, it works well by the way, I will say this thing is a game changer. It's so much faster and makes everything a lot more efficient. Once all the holes were drilled, I could assemble the boxes using glue, clamps, and 1 1/4 inch pocket screws. While I'm assembling this, I just want to take a second and let you guys know that the tools and all the things I use in this video will be linked in the description below, as well as links to all my woodworking plans, merchandise, website, all that good stuff. As always, I really appreciate your guys' support, and I couldn't do this without you. I cut up the pieces that I didn't use from the sheets of ply into 3-inch strips on the table saw. Then I took the strips over to the miter saw to cut them into 3-inch squares. These will be used as spacers for the seat portion. Setting up a stop block ensures you get the same cut each time. Just make sure to let the blade completely stop before lifting it back up, or it will catch the piece and fling it across the shop. Not that I've ever done that. Once I had the spacers all cut, I started assembling the seat. I made sure that the white oak side was facing down, which would become the front, and then I just did my best to keep everything lined up as I went. I used glue and brad nails to assemble it all, and I made sure to alternate the pattern of the brads in each layer so they didn't hit each other. Initially, I was just going to put all this into clamps, but I feel like when you start squeezing the clamps with the glue and everything, if you don't have anything to hold the spacers in place, they would just slide all over the place. So I decided to go this route, and it worked out pretty well. Then I got the planers back out and finish sanded those. These pieces will make up the top trim of the planer boxes, or top rail, I don't know what to call it. The piece that goes around the top where the plant will sit. That piece. I use pocket holes to fasten them together, making sort of a frame. As always, when using pocket screws, make sure you put all of your pieces in clamps so they don't move around as you're trying to put the screws in. Once they were assembled, I took them out of the clamps, let the glue dry for a little bit, then I could sand it all flush and set them aside. Now it was time to put the planer accent pieces on the planer boxes. Again, I attached them with glue and brad nails, but this time shot them in from the inside so you don't see the nail holes from the outside. I started from the bottom and used one of the other pieces as a spacer to make sure the next one was straight and the right distance away. I used that same process all the way up to the top. The other two sides were a lot easier. I could just line them up with the first board, so I didn't really need the spacer or anything like that. Just tried to keep them lined up and flush with the ends. Once all the accent pieces were on, I could attach what I'm now calling the top frame piece. So I put the glue on, put the top frame on this one, made sure it was lined up square, and then what I did was take the other top frame, flip it upside down on top of this one, put the glue on the other planter box, and then just flipped it upside down, set it on there, and let the weight of the planters be the clamp. Worked out pretty well. Once the glue was dry, I could take the planter tower apart, set them aside, and start sanding on the seat portion of the bench. I sanded until all the slats and spacers were flush with one another. And I did the same to flush up the ends. Then I grabbed my small Pilot 16th inch roundover bit from Bits and Bits. You guys can use the code Walker15 to get 15% off anything on their website. Leave the links below. It was great to get in these small little corners, and it was a nice subtle roundover on all the slats. I use these bits all the time, especially when I need to get into small places like this, or sort of 45-degree corners. They do pretty well. And I also used it on pretty much every sharp edge I could get the router into on this whole project. I picked up some plants to go in the planter boxes, so I needed to measure the pots to see where I needed to put the shelves on the inside of the planter boxes that they would sit on. I put the shelves in where the pot would sit about an inch below the surface. I just made the shelves out of leftover drop from the plywood and also just scraps I had laying around the shop, since you won't ever see them anyway. Then it was time to install the seat. Basically, it just slides between the top two strips, and then I secure it with screws from the inside of the planter boxes. The downside to this design is you should really take it apart when it's being picked up and moved around so nothing breaks. But I'm okay with that. It's only a few screws. Just make sure you mark which side is which, so when you go to put it back together, all the holes line up. I actually think I like it better this way because you can break it down and put it back together. It's easier to move around with one person, and you can get it in and out of rooms and down hallways and around corners and all that stuff a lot easier. As always, I branded it with my Gearhart Industry brand. If you guys want to get your own, check out the description for a discount code. I love this thing. Again, this is an indoor bench, so I decided to use spray poly on it. It's just a lot easier to get into all the little crevices and between the slats and everything on this bench, rather than trying to brush on something or use a wipe-on finish. After applying 3 coats of the spray-on polyurethane, I moved it into the room where it was going to stay, put the plants in, and I think it came out pretty cool. A little different than what I usually do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and just a reminder, there are plans available for this project if you want to make one for yourself. Thanks you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, check out one of these videos. I think you'll like it.